All right, so here we are testing things. We're always constantly testing. Keith, how you doing, my friend?
Oh, look, I am so excited. I'm so excited by what you're doing here. You've created a very clear example of what a social audio could become. And we have been experimenting with the idea of, is social audio still a thing? I think about 20 to 30% of people still come to these, and about 40% of people have never heard of it. And I think it's our job to sort of inform people that this is still a functioning format that could really be an alternative to talkback radio, which, of course, is only available in your local town. You're in Toronto, I'm in Melbourne. If you ran a radio show in Toronto, I couldn't come to that. And if I ran a radio show in Melbourne, you couldn't be on it. So we've got a sort of a global talkback show now, haven't we? I love it. I just think it's the coolest thing.
So I'm testing this exclusively on YouTube. I believe you're streaming on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and the reason why we're separating the two is simply just part of our testing. You and I, we know and are well versed in what YouTube is, but we were never real adopters of YouTube until recently when I started to dabble in with the shorts and trying to just find different ways to be seen, heard, and remembered by my community, and at the same time see if there's any other way and other means that I can bring value in growing my community. And we've hit a few nuggets. Now the sample size is relatively small, but each time those samples hit, it gives us clear indication that hey, there's something that's living and breathing here that we want to uncover and be part of.
Yeah. And someone's got to go first. Someone's got to test this stuff. And I think you and I have that sort of experimental mindset. So I don't mind experimenting. In fact, I've got a bit of a test run on a brand new gadget, which I just love playing around with. So I just bought the Zoom P2 this week, and I've got a Zoom P4, and they're great. They're very good, but you need to have XLR mics, and they're a bit expensive. So I thought I'd buy the P2, which is only $200, and it actually works with XLR mics, which almost everyone has. Right, so it's what does it sound like to you? For me, I can tell the difference because I'm a bit of a sound snob, but I think it sounds pretty reasonable.
It sounds extremely reasonable. Let me tell you, let's take a step back for those who um, perhaps are asking, or when listening back to this recording, are asking, what is a Zoom P2, and is it part of the Zoom family? Uh, and I was naive at one point, and but Zoom, they're two different organizations. They're not right.
Two different Zooms, isn't it?
There's two different Zooms. So let's help our listeners um, talk a little bit about what is Zoom,
Yeah.
the P2, the P4, and what does it do, and why does someone want to have or invest in one of these pieces of tech?
Yeah. So actually, I keep forgetting about this, but Zoom, the software company, which everyone in the world has heard of, even my dad. And when my dad hears about it, I know that it's gone viral because he's 88. Right. So everyone's heard of Zoom, the software company, and that's that sort of video platform that went really sort of super viral during the COVID period. But unfortunately, there's another company called Zoom, which predates that company, and they make stuff. They make mixers and mics and headphones, and they've been around for like ever. Right? So I keep forgetting that there's two separate companies. So Zoom, the hardware company, makes mics and headphones and mixers. And just to demonstrate, this is what a mic, I'm going to turn all the gadgets off. This is what a mic might sound like if you just plugged it straight into your PC. It sounds flat. You can hear me, but it sounds very sort of dull. Right, you can totally hear the difference. It's still audible, but a bit sort of boring. But with a little bit of EQ, see how it's raised the sound and it's made it a bit more vibrant,
Yes.
professional, right? So Zoom make a series of products that just make your voice sound better, right? Now, initially you might not be able to hear the difference, but once you tune in, bit of a curse, you can't unhear this stuff, can you?
No,
Like,
you can't. And yesterday was a perfect example. I used to be able to live without guilt in some of my live events, and yesterday was a turning point for me. I had a software upgrade or update that was prompted by my Microsoft device. I updated my software, got all the updates pushed through, but somehow my settings got rearranged. In yesterday's event that you were a guest on, I was speaking into my webcam mic and I didn't realize that I had my headset. I could hear myself. I sounded really good in my head. But when I listened to the playback, it's like my heart dropped. And I never used to be that way. It's like, oh well, that's what it is, what it is. And after we spoke last night, and I thought to myself, now's the time. It's time to invest in better tech, better audio, because if I'm going to be the social selling expert and bring in people, it's important that I sound crisp and that I help others understand the importance. And I'm doing this through your mentorship and through your advice, and it's fantastic. Now, and you've taught me so much. Leslie's joining us on LinkedIn. Hey, Leslie, thanks for joining us. Flat is the right word. Yeah,
yeah.
you don't want to sound you don't
You,
want to sound flat.
well, you had a really interesting thing happen this week, which I wasn't part of, and I'm a bit embarrassed that I missed that show because it was in my time zone. But you had this thing happen where someone came in, very important guest, had a lot to say, very clever. It was a very, very good show, but out of nowhere, you had this massive echo issue, and it took you like a few minutes to solve it. And most importantly, some of the key listeners left because they couldn't stand the echo.
Right.
Right now, someone's got to work out how to do that, and someone's got to go first and test things. So, I'm very proud to be that guy. Like, I just love testing this stuff, and as my budget allows, I buy myself these presents, and I'm now using. And you mentioned the phrase Zoom. I have what's called a Zoom P4. Now that P stands for podcasting, 4 just stands for 4 mics. So it's a gadget about the same size as a tablet, a small tablet, and you can plug 4 mics into it. If you're having a sort of a sit around the desk type of podcast, you know how you sometimes sit
Mhm.
around. Sometimes we sit around with our mates and we have a bit of a chat. So everyone gets a mic, everyone gets a pair of headphones. They're about $300, these devices, and you've got to buy the mics. Right? So it can get a bit expensive, but it sounds great. Everyone gets their own separate feed on their mic, and everyone gets a separate feed on their headphones. So everyone gets a turn. And this device, called a P4, allows you to record 4 separate tracks. So if someone coughs, or if the phone drops, or the mic falls over, or there's a dog barking, you can actually cut out that beat without affecting the others. This becomes very, very, very important if you want a professional quality podcast. Things you just wouldn't think of if you didn't know. Like, if you were just sitting around, just say you were sitting around and you thought, look, we're just having a chat. Let's just talk into our phone and record it. We'll work it out later. Right? Now, the recording part's pretty fun, but you try fixing it. You try fixing the dog barking or the lawnmower going or the kids screaming in the background. It's bloody hard to get rid of those sounds.
It is.
So if you have separate tracks, P4, 4 tracks, if the dog's barking on the third guest's mic, well, you can just sort of delete that bit, just that single bit. You don't have to. It doesn't affect the whole file. That's why I have a P4. I love it. I love it. But You have to have very specific mics, and it's a bit expensive. And I'm a bit of a sound snob. Zoom very, very, very cleverly decided this year, just as brand new, like this product's brand new. What about if we just had a little gadget the size of a cigarette packet that can you put in your pocket and works on two AA batteries? Actually, I think it might be four AA batteries. And you just put it in your pocket and it runs two USB mics, the ones that you can buy from Walmart. Everyone's got a USB mic, most people. And you just plug them in and it works. And it, as I said, it's got three little gadgets to make you sound better. This is what it sounds like if you just plug it in, flat, but you can hear me. But it has this compressor, which compresses the sound, makes me slightly louder, but also evens out the sound. And it even has a bass boost button. A bass boost button. Like that's the coolest thing, because sometimes I get a bit high. I do a bit of a Mickey Mouse. And then it's got an AI generated sort of what do they call it? They call it noise reduction, right? And so it just takes out the kids screaming and the dogs barking, or the kids barking and the dogs screaming, and it's just a little bit of tech. Costs $200. It's not free. It's a bit of an investment, but if you're gonna do this stuff and you want to get you want to get in the game, then there's a lot of people doing this. And as you get up the chain, you get a little bit intolerant of people just talking into a laptop, sounding like they're in a tunnel. Right? You can hear it.
Yeah, you can definitely hear the difference. Absolutely. Now let me ask you a question in terms of the P2. Now, is the P2 designed to mask um, the cost of a cheap mic as well? Like, does it do that for you, or do you still need a decent quality mic to supplement your P2?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I did a test. Actually, they're on my YouTube channel. Sorry, my LinkedIn page. I'll send them to you if you're listening. And just yell out. I'll send you the two. But I did a P2 test on the same mic, and there is a noticeable difference because if you think about it, and that's a very good question, America, the USB port is very small, right? So there's not much to grab onto, when it goes to the computer. It's very small, it's very dinky, and the cord's very thin, right? So in terms of physics, the actual sound sounds thinner on a USB mic. There's no way around that unless you bought a $500 one. They just sound thin because it's a cheap mic.
Mm-hmm.
But as you can see, I've got little gadgets, little buttons I can push to slightly cheat. Right? I can cheat. What happens with the XLR mics? They're those mics you get when you're singing at a open mic night, or you see your favorite singer singing. They've got these what they call XLR, and XLR has three really strong pins that lock into the gadget. So you've got this really strong connection, and because you've got this very strong connection, you've got this very strong sound. I just had this insight yesterday about that. And if you've ever had a really proper mic, you know that the cord is about 3 times thicker. So there's more to play with. But to your point, for $200, and I'm pretty sure if you want to try your mic on it, I'm pretty sure you're going to get a better sound with this gadget than if you didn't use it. The question is that differential worth $200? Because we're now gonna start seeing this real explosion in podcasting. A lot of people have said to me, mate, I can't be bothered running my own show. I mean, I just can't be bothered. But I tell you what, if someone asks me, I'll go on their show because you just turn up, right?
No, it's definitely growing in momentum, podcasting. And to your point, it's absolutely um, painless when it comes to the preparation side. People don't realize how much time is consumed and taken up planning a show. And if you want to do it well, uh, you need at least I'm figuring at least a week to plan the show and then hype it up, promote it, invite people to show up, engage with those people during the live, and then there's the post live engagement. So it is time consuming, no doubt. So
And
you want
you can't know that until you've tried it. When my wife is learning guitar, and she goes, "Oh well, it's these young kids, they just play guitar, can't be that hard." And she's thinking, "Man, I've been playing every night for 3 years, and I'm not even close to that. How did they do it?" Well, that's because they were like playing 8 hours a day from the time they were 14. And then when they started gigging, they've already been playing like for years and years and years. And they just take it for granted. You see these shredders, these people that play really fast on their guitar, and you go, "Oh, that looks pretty easy. They're making it look easy." You try learning guitar from a standing start. It takes you bloody years. Yeah. And we've been doing it for years. That's why we can be a little bit nonchalant about this stuff, because it's like breathing for me. Yeah.
so here's a fascinating thing. I'm listening. I'm trying to multitask, and by the way, this is one of the best hacks, and why people shouldn't let go of the whole audio event. Because being on camera is one experience, yes, and I know there's value in being on camera and your how your visibility translates into trust a lot quicker. But when you're in an audio event, I'm sitting here behind the scenes and I'm looking up the P2 on Amazon. And let me share with you, I listened to your test yesterday. I know you ran a test. So it was a short test. I think it was a 6, maybe 7 minutes in total. And it got me thinking. So I know that there's Amazon Days coming up here in Canada, July the 8th till the 11th, I think it is. I keep seeing these ads popping up on my mobile device. And I entered in PodTrack P2, and I'm looking at it, and on the list, so it brings up the PodTrack P2, but it also brings up in the same category the P4. And I don't know if this is an error because the prices you suggested or referred to yesterday, the P4 is showing up here at $229 and the P2's $253.
Wow.
Is it not worth paying the extra $40 and getting the four?
Oh, wow. Like, remember, we're in Australia. Not only are we so far away, our dollar's worth about 15 cents. I'm exaggerating to make a point, but, we're so far away and so different in so many ways. I think our dollar's at about 56 cents at the moment. So when I said $200, that would be 200 Australian dollars. I got the P for at $200 at a shop, not Amazon. A Melbourne-based shop, 200 Australian dollars, and the Zoom P4 would be 300 Australian dollars. But that is different based on geography. But
Hmm.
if it's the same or similar cost, the P4 is at least twice as good. And if you want, I'll unplug and plug back in, and you can tell the difference. But you do need an XLR mic,
All
which
right,
means
that was the next question. Is the P4 exclusively XLR, or does it have USB and XLR inputs?
yeah, that's why it's so cool to have this discussion. The P2, $200, works with the cheaper mics, what we call USB, the standard ones you can buy at Walmart and the local office shop. Probably even get them at supermarkets now. Whereas XLR mics, very expensive, $200 ish, but they're so much better. They're pro quality. Right? You get what you pay for, yeah.
Hmm.
And if you don't have an XLR mic, it's another expense that you probably don't want to be bothered with. But if you want, we can play a little bit of music or go to a guest, and I'll unplug and plug back in, and you'll be able to hear the difference. There's a definite difference in quality. It's very subtle, but it's cleaner. It's more defined, a little bit richer. And I know that because I did the experiment yesterday. Could you hear the difference between the two?
Yes. Yes, I was able to.
How would you define the difference? Richer, deeper, cleaner?
Definitely richer. I wouldn't say cleaner because both options were clean when I'm comparing what I'm used to listening to. So they were both clean in their own unique ways, but definitely richer.
Okay. Well, why don't I don't want to put you on the spot because I know how hard it is to talk to the rooster, but if we want, we could sort of maybe find a way to get some guests on, and we'll just have a bit of a riff. And um, if you can swing getting a P4 and an XLR mic, your level of sound will go up 3 times because you've got an XLR mic, so that's one. You've got a P4, so that's two, and 1+1=3. Depends on where you went to school, but I went to audio school, so 1+1=3. So you're going to go up 3 notches if you can get the P4 and an XLR mic, but you got to swing that cost.
So
You'll notice, yeah.
the condenser mic that I have that I purchased, it is an XLR mic.
Oh wow!
So maybe I can invest in the P4. Try. I know I've used the condenser mic, and I just don't have the room that's conducive to this, and it doesn't absorb sound. So this condenser mic just picks up everything. Windows closed. It doesn't matter. I could hear a squirrel sneeze 2 doors down.
So rooster in the Philippines.
Yes.
We do indeed have 2 callers, so we could indeed get someone up from the stage. But one thing I'll mention, just as a caveat, if you've got a cheap-ish condenser mic, and what a condenser mic means, sorry to use this jargon, but a condenser mic is one of those cheaper ones you can buy at Walmart, and it sounds good in a quiet room, but if the lawnmower's going or the chickens are going or the microwave's on or there's something in the room, it picks up every nuanced sound. And unless you've got a very clean room, you cannot fix that. And a P4 won't fix that. So why I love the P2, the fundamental reason I bought it is because it has noise cancellation as a button to push. Like I'll just try this. I don't know if so I've taken the noise cancellation off. I should probably put a load of washing on, or get the guys next door to kick a footy or something. But
yeah.
So I've taken the noise cancellation off, but it's got a button on it, the P2. So this is brand new. Like this I think was invented in January. I might be one of the first people in the world, second people, because someone else introduced me to it. Another dude like me. Someone's got to go first. So it's got gadgets built in. For $200, I don't think you can lose, except that it's $200 and you've got to explain to your wife where you're spending that. You've always got to have that conversation. $200? What do you mean you need a 7th guitar? Well, I've got one tuned to D, and one's a solo guitar, and one's an acoustic guitar, and one's for when I play my Led Zeppelin songs, and then I've got another one that's very good for Dire Straits songs, and got to have a spare. And plus, I like orange, so I've got an orange guitar to play on Sundays. I'm joking to make a point. I know guys that have 7 guitars, and they're constantly fighting with their wife about getting the 8th guitar. What do you mean, another guitar? What do you need another guitar for? You can never have too many guitars. You can never have too many guitars. And that I might put that on a T-shirt. You can never have too many guitars. So nothing goes to waste, but you've got to find the money. And we're in the game. So we sort of owe it to people to try this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So you try the tech. I'm trying different processes, and when you bring the tech and the processes together, you can create magic. It's magical. I've seen the overnight difference. Um, and I'll chalk it up as a success. I'll chalk it up as a win. But up until last year, I was struggling with my content. It wasn't a lack of effort. It wasn't a lack of passion. It was a lack of engagement. And I understand the nuances and all the things that go into, hey, am I talking to my ideal audience? Am I talking like is the tone right for the people who I'm engaging with? And I sorted all of that out and saw the improvement, but it just wasn't the improvement I was expecting. So I figured, all right, it's time to pivot. It's time to try something else. And I refer to myself as a keyboard warrior, and talking to myself in the third person, like, Americo, yeah, you got to be less of a keyboard warrior, and you have to start manifesting the ideas of going live. Bring your audible presence, bring your visual presence to your audience, and they will appreciate your authenticity that comes with the efforts that you're making. Everyone says it, and I am now on that bandwagon. It's not going to be pretty, it's not going to be perfect, but you got to start. And until you start, you don't know how great things will become for you.
I love it. And one of the things I'm very excited about is you've examined that YouTube Shorts in the 9:16 format are really sort of booming, taken off. Right? And you're exploring that. That's very brave. Like 2.7 billion people have a YouTube account and look at YouTube videos every day. 2.7 billion. Like, I don't even know if I believe that number. But shorts, videos that are 9:16 and are under a minute, they are the majority of those views. And they're
Yeah.
just exploding. Now, I don't even know how to do them, but you are exploring that. How is that going? I mean, what was your inspiration for that?
Well, it's just all the chatter, yeah, just like in any other trend or any other shiny object that kind of catches your attention. This caught my attention. And I know that my other social channels uh, haven't brought the traction that I had expected. Also large audiences, but I spend most of the time on LinkedIn because that's where most of what I do and the value that I bring, that's where it resonates. Um, but there's an audience outside of LinkedIn. I was trying to figure out, where do I go and engage with that audience. I tried the Instagram. It's a distant second and soon to be third, because we got YouTube just racing away with some of the analytics, and it's still early to make that judgment. But I'm confident that YouTube will surpass my LinkedIn engagement and productivity. TikTok, there's a huge business community, but they're just different types of business owners and different personas. And I'm just weeks away. I'm giving it a couple more weeks before I decide to pull the plug and stick to YouTube, because
I think
that's
it's
where.
very sensible. There's a comment. There's a comment there from Leslie, and I get this. I don't. I'm not into fashion, but women love shoes. Now, you try telling a woman to wear one pair of shoes every day forever. You know, I know people. I know women with 8 pairs of shoes. Well, I've got a red dress on. I've got to wear red shoes. Keith, come on. I don't ask me to wear white shoes with a red dress. If I wear a white dress, I wear a white pair of shoes. If I got and I got to have a white handbag, so I've got to have a match the dress with the shoes. I get it. I get it.
Hey,
So
we have friends of the family. We have friends of the family who just left. They're leaving for France for 10 days for their 10-year anniversary. And in those 10 days, there are 14 pairs of shoes and 14 purses traveling to France, and not to include the shoes and purses that are going to be purchased in France to bring back home. So I totally I get it, Leslie. The shoe comparison, it's a thing, and no different than our wives questioning, hey, why do we need a seventh guitar? Uh, yes, husbands, scratch their heads wondering why do they need so many shoes. You got black pair, which is multifunctional. You can wear them anywhere, and that's just us being men and maybe naive or just
I'm a
frugal.
I'm a black t-shirt and jeans type of guy. I've got 20 black t-shirts. Like I just because you can't wear the same one for more than 2 days and get away with it in public. So and I'm just saying that as it is. So you got to put a fresh t-shirt on every day. So you need at least 7, and I've got 8 just in case. And I bought 2 when I was in Japan, so there's 10. Right, and I buy 2 or 3 every time I go overseas. So I've got probably 20 black t-shirts. And they're all different. I've got a Guns N' Roses t-shirt for when I go to my metal gigs, and I've got a Pink Floyd t-shirt for when I want a conversation starter at the cafe. Pink Floyd's still a thing. They're a pretty funky band. Number 6 all-time best record sales ever, 214 million. So I just pulled that out of my hat because I saw a YouTube short about this today. So tech, shoes, t-shirts, dresses, purses, guitars, you pick your poison. I choose tech, and someone's got to go first. And I'd love to hear some messages from the audience if you do indeed want me to try the P4. But
Yeah, we can definitely bring anyone up who wants to join us. I dropped the link in the chat if you'd like to join us, and if you can't access the link through even copy or pasting, if we're connected on LinkedIn, I'll send you a DM. Let me know if you're on YouTube and want to join us. We'll find a way to get you up on stage if you'd like to join the conversation. But why don't we pause with a little bit of music and let you switch over to the P4.
Okay.
All right, we are back. Oh, at least I'm back. Let's make sure that Keith is back. Let's let
Am I working now?
you are working now.
So this is the Zoom P4. Can There's no direct comparison because there was a couple of minutes gap, but can you hear that this is a cleaner signal?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, that's fascinating because once you can hear it, you can then justify the cost. It's a cleaner signal. It sounds more professional, doesn't it?
It does. And now you got me excited. I'm gonna buy. And I hope this isn't an error that I'm seeing on my Amazon account. But the P4 is actually cheaper than the P2.
Yeah, I might even just check that now. What you're referring to is the tariffs. If I was going to buy a P4, a P2, it'd cost me $257. But a Zoom P4, which is a better product, is $420 in Australia. Man, I keep telling people to move to Australia. We got to move to Canada. Like you just got everything half price. 420 Australian dollars it is for me, compared to 250 Australian dollars on Amazon. I might just do some research, but it's a superior product, and you can hear the difference, can't you?
Yeah, you can absolutely.
And what'll happen is you've got a condenser mic that does plug in. There will be a significant difference, but you still will have that background noise, and that'll be part one. And then the next time you have decide to shout yourself, you might get a dynamic mic. Let's have that chat. This is
Yes,
actually a very important
let
point.
let's do that
So,
because I'm sure there's a lot of questions.
so a condenser mic, which most mics are the ones you buy at the shop, like the entry level product. Um, they I don't know how they configure it, but the point is that they pick up everything. Now, the great advantage of a condenser mic, and you'll see that on the packet. It'll just say it on the packet. It makes your voice sound very warm. It sounds like you sit next to someone on the couch. It's a very good microphone style if you've got a room that's quiet. Right. And so you hear people on the radio and you think, oh, geez, they sound good. But, they've got a room built for that, right? They've spent thousands of dollars putting foam on the wall and carpet on the ground and bits and pieces on the roof so that nothing bounces off. And even if there was a car crash in the next shop, you wouldn't hear it because they've spent thousands of dollars building that room. And people that make a living out of voice work, they actually build these studios inside their houses. And I just wish I could do that, but I can't. So a compromise there is what's called a dynamic mic. And a dynamic mic and I'll demonstrate this right now. A dynamic mic only picks up what is immediately in front of it. Right? And I'll demonstrate this really clearly. So I've got this mic about 1 centimeter from my mouth. Now, if I move it to 10 centimeters, it goes softer. I haven't spoken any different, but the mic is a lot further away. Right? Now if you've got your voice here and someone's mowing the lawn outside, you won't hear them because it only picks up immediately what's in front. It's called a dynamic mic. Now that's worth paying for.
It is worth paying for, and I'm sure. This is anecdotal, but you hear politicians and athletes and big personalities getting caught on a hot mic. Wouldn't it have been so much better for them if it were a dynamic mic and if they had stepped away, no one would hear some of the gibberish that they say and is caught often on a hot mic.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's this is not. this is not just guys talking about tech for the sake of it. I'm trying to bring it down to real examples that make sense. You know, if you unfortunately, like 80% of people, are doing a podcast in a room where there's kids and dogs and people mowing the lawn and kids screaming and wifey's at home having microwave dinners at lunchtime, or just normal things, you can't help that. That's just life. You can't build a room, especially to do a podcast, if you're working from home. You're just impractical. But a dynamic mic, especially an XLR one, it allows you to really go down deep. And you can hear the difference. The P2 was fine. It was quite cool, $200 sound. This is a $400 sound. Right now, we're starting to sort of put a sort of dollar figure on quality. Yeah, it's
Now
like is
we've
better.
also been caught by surprise, Keith. I know you and I have been on shows where you would ask an audience member, it's like, "Well, you sound pretty good. What do you want?" And they surprise us by saying, "My Apple earpods," and I'm talking into my mobile device. How could that be possible?
Well, that's a very good point. Um, iPhones, I think, post 14, I think it was the 14. Any Apple iPhone after the 14 has what's built in called, I don't think it's called noise cancellation, but it's voice isolation. So there is a button on an iPhone that makes you sound like you're in a recording studio. Now, I wouldn't buy an iPhone for that because they're $2,000. But what are we up to now? The iPhone 16. So it's called voice isolation. It's built into the phone, right? And it's one of the very cool features that you can get on a brand new iPhone. Now, how cool is that? If you could do it that way. $1,449. It is, I think, here in Australia, for a brand new iPhone. That's a lot of money for a phone, isn't it?
It's an extreme amount of money for a phone.
But it is, especially as it relates to something like YouTube Shorts and the current economy. Actually, they're $1,937, nearly $2,000 for a phone. I don't, but a lot of people live on their phone. And if you are a mobile person, someone who's always out and about, but wants to take part in these shows, I wouldn't recommend you run a show on your phone, but you could take part in a show on your phone. So with that in mind, iPhone invented this voice isolation feature. Bloody brilliant.
It is brilliant. There's just so much we can do on our mobile devices, and I think it was just yesterday that you and I were talking about on your recent trips to Japan and Korea. What happened to your DSLR camera? You walked around with it, but you took most of your pictures with your mobile device.
Yeah,
And
I
so
did a poll about this. What actually happened was I took my Canon SX70, actually SX50. I've got the SX50. My wife's got the SX70. And what the 50 stands for is it's 50 times zoom on a device that fits in a bag. And I'm carrying my bag and I'm going, I feel like a traveler. I've got a really cool camera just sitting there. And after the third day, I thought, you know what? I haven't even got my camera out. I just didn't get it out. Didn't even bother getting it out. And I'm thinking, that's pretty silly. So I thought, I'm going to challenge myself on the trip I went away for 25 days. I'm going to challenge myself to see if there's a moment where I really feel like using the camera. And to be honest, never happened. I thought, I reckon I could probably get away with using my phone here. Let's try that. Oh, that's not bad. That's not a bad shot. Pretty proud of that. And I sort of lent into the idea of using my phone to take photos. And I challenged myself to see if they were as good. And they were just about as good. Not exactly. You couldn't blow them up and put them on your wall, but they were fine for Facebook and share them with friends. And it's a really amazing moment. I bought that camera in 2015 and I've traveled with it every year since. And last couple of years, I just haven't taken as many photos. And I think that indicates a sort of a trend. And if you take that trend and apply it to calling in to shows, what we call pod guesting, you might find that we could probably get away with pod guesting on a phone if you had a decent phone. It sort of runs against the grain. We sort of even conceding that, like it really grates me. I feel sometimes I feel like the Buggles. I don't know if you remember this song, America, but in 1982, the Buggles had a song called "Video Killed the Radio Star,"
Yes, yeah.
and I feel like that dude. Man, I love sound. I love audio. And now everyone's making videos on their phone and getting 5 million views on an iPhone. How's that? That's not fair. That's not fair. Come on. I've got stuff. I've got skills. I went to uni for this. It's
Yeah.
amazing, isn't it?
Well, it is amazing, and that's just, I guess, part of evolution or whatever it is that we want to call it or how we want to define it. But listen, there's still a lot of people who are holding on to audio. We're testing this out today. I gave you a shout out this morning or morning for you. And hey, Keith, are you up for testing a little more audio on YouTube? So I'm doing all this experimentation on YouTube just to see how people react, how people respond, and how people engage, and then how I can repurpose some of this content and learn myself a little more about how YouTube works and reacts to my content and my voice. And um, I got a couple of subscribers in the last couple of days. It's nothing to write home about, but it's two more that I didn't have 2 days ago,
Yeah.
right?
Look, it's very, very important. I'm really interested in this conversation. I personally cannot see the point of making content if no one watches it. Unless you're enjoying it just for fun and there's nothing to do and there's nothing on TV and you'd rather just sit in your room pretending that you're famous. I want to be famous. Like, I want people to watch my stuff. So, in order for people to watch your stuff or listen to your stuff, you've got to go where they are.
That's right.
I love SoundCloud, soundcloud.com. It's probably the coolest site on the internet, but not a lot of people have heard of it. And I have 223 interviews there, but no one's listening to them because they've never heard of it. That's just silly. I might as well just put those things on YouTube where everyone is. And the experiments you're doing are very, very, very important because people are on YouTube. We've got to crack that algorithm. We've got to work it out. We've got to work out how to get people to hear our stuff on the format they want. They want YouTube videos. We have to come to them, don't we? Is that your thinking there, that you have to go to where the people are?
Absolutely. And not so much where the people are, because some of the same people are on LinkedIn, but we might not be consuming content at the same times on different platforms. So if you can add some breadth and be more diverse in where you're showing up, then you know, you might just grab a few followers who are ready to cross over to where you're spending most of your time. So with YouTube having a larger audience than LinkedIn does, and my business didn't have a presence in YouTube, but I'm thinking, hey, if I lean into this, just like everyone else is, I might be able to build it into my strategy and build it into my marketing and my social, just make it part of my social selling where my persona shows up, to your point, where our audience is. So That is the intent. To answer your question, I kind of went in a full circle there, but yes, that is the intent and the purpose. And it's like I said earlier, it's still early. Um, the data sample isn't large enough or significant enough to say, all right, this is a shoe in. Uh, but all indications are pointing to this being the right decision.
If you've got time, can you tell us your Canvas strategy? These images that you are making are world class, and you made them today using Canva's new AI feature. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So uh, yesterday's I used it as well. So the idea of trying to bring back a little bit of this retro audio experience, because we're all used to and accustomed to video, and I felt, hey, you know what? Keith's got a poll going on, and he's trying to gauge his audience and his community in terms of, where's our mindset when it comes to audio, and what's the appetite like? And there's still over 20% who believe this is a real thing, and there's 40 odd percent of your poll participants saying and questioning what is audio. So I felt, if I can create an experience where people get to familiarize themselves or reacquaint themselves with audio, that's great. But how do you do that? How do you mix the visual effect with the audio effect? So I just started playing with some prompts on Canva's AI tool, and hey, create me a studio, create me a podcast studio with 2 seats. Yesterday I asked for one with 3 seats. Create me a podcast studio. I want it so that both speakers are facing each other. They're facing laptops. We have podcast mics. You know what? Throw in a on the air sign just to kind of give that radio vibe. And it gave me like a handful of options, some with uh, figures in them, some with empty chairs. And I figured, hey, this one is going to suit us just fine for today. I dropped in our heads. So, you know, I really like when these ideas come to me at spur of the moment. And I used to like many others, you know, think of, it's got to be perfect. And when you're that type of perfectionist, things don't get done. And you think about it and you plan, and you know what? Let's just do it. And the first rendition might not be what you wanted, but it's better than just talking about it. And that's exactly what happened. The thought came into my head. It started to culminate, and how do we operationalize this and visualize it and put it to the audience? Canva
And
help.
done is better than perfect, isn't it? Done
Done is
is
better than
better.
perfect. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you even had a really cool insight that someone was watching our show on their TV yesterday.
Yes. So the analytics behind YouTube is quite, I wouldn't say astonishing, but robust. I really like the fact how their analytics breaks down the devices. Now, I know LinkedIn provides that, and Restream and the streaming platforms provide that to some degree. But yesterday, when I was looking at some of my analytics after our show yesterday, it's like I was able to see the breakdown on how many people tuned in on a mobile device, a desktop, a tablet. And unbeknownst to me, there was one listener, one viewer who brought us up on their smart TV, and they were watching us on television or listening to us on television in this case. So uh, it it tells me that there are people who want to consume entertainment in a variety of formats, and they'd rather pull conversations like these and comparable to these and sit in front of their tube or their telly and stream these conversations because they see more value than just listening to the Hollywood voices and the 6 o'clock news.
Yeah, there is actually significant evidence to prove that people want real. we are just two guys chilling out. And maybe it's fairly low quality content, but we're real. You know that this is the real deal. And we're just two guys chilling, having a bit of fun with the Zoom P2 and the Zoom P4 and Canva and talking about the future of audio. And there is significant evidence to prove that this is a genre that people appreciate. It's not. It wasn't scripted. We just made it up.
Yeah,
And quite literally 10 minutes before we went on air, you said, "Mate, you up for a bit of a fun test today?" And we said, "Yes, let's just do an image. I'll plug my new gadget in. Let's go." And people love that stuff. They love
yeah,
it.
yeah. And the fact that it's not overproduced and not too glamorous, it kind of ties into the the keywords that so many people are searching for, and that's authenticity. And like you said, two guys just being their authentic selves, not perfect, but they're getting it done, and they're not afraid to be vulnerable. Things might go awry, and if they do, we're able to troubleshoot it in real time. We're able to test things in real time, and I hope this acts as a trigger to motivate others to want to do the same and be part of uh, what we're building and what others like us are trying to do for themselves. Because this, yes, it's part of its visibility. I'm having just a howl and a great time doing these, and people are reaching out to me. It's like, hey, can you help me? And let's not kid ourselves. I might not be a um, top notch producer. In fact, I'll be the first to say I'm not. But someone's looking up to my efforts, and they're looking up to what I'm doing and saying, hey, this might be able to work with us, with our organization, with my personal brand, and this might be within reach. Because last time this was an experimental thought, it cost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to get this done by a big production company. And it doesn't have to be that way. All right. How long was I talking to myself?
That was my fault. I think my signal is going, and it's one of the challenges of working from home and having several people in the house working on the same internet system. But we've been chatting for about an hour. I think that was a very good test.
I
What
think
do you?
that was a fantastic test. It, no sooner did I say, you know, things can go array and we have no issues troubleshooting in real time. We lost you, and we were ended up. So
Yeah,
it almost seemed like that was rehearsed.
that's right. And let's go to a technical problem. Let's go to a technical problem on cue. But look, we've been chatting an hour. If you need to go, it's getting late there. Do you need to wrap it up, or you got
Well,
a bit more time?
considering that this was a test, I think we have ample conversation to kind of sit back and see how this is going to kind of find its way through the ecosystem. I'll keep an eye on the analytics. I'll keep an eye on the replays. I'll create a couple of shorts, and we'll repurpose this conversation to allow us to keep learning and keep
Yeah.
sharing with our community.
No, that's good. It's important to do those tests. So go and do your thing. I know it's getting late there. My morning's just begun, but I got some things to attend to. So I'll catch you on the flip side. Have a fantastic weekend.
You as well. Take care. I'm gonna cue up some music and shut the room in a few seconds.